Has anyone ever asked you something that left you wondering, why do they even need to know? How do casual acquaintances now ask about your finances without hesitation? How do strangers on social media feel entitled to inquire about your medical conditions? Even family members sometimes cross boundaries that would have been unthinkable just a generation ago. If you've ever felt that uncomfortable tug, the clash between your natural inclination toward privacy and today's relentless pressure to share everything, you're not alone. And declining to answer? Somehow it makes you seem suspicious or difficult, when really, it's just protecting yourself. According to Cornell University, in over 60% of elder financial abuse cases, the victim had previously shared their financial details with the person who later exploited them. And shockingly, the greatest threat isn't from strangers. It's from those sitting at your own dinner table. I'm Vernon. After a decade of working with seniors across North America, Europe, and Asia, I've seen this pattern play out over and over again. The more you share, the more vulnerable you become, not just emotionally, but financially, legally, even physically. In today's digital world, where privacy is seen as suspicious instead of wise, maintaining boundaries isn't just a personal choice. It's your strongest protection. Today, I'll share the 5 questions every senior should politely but firmly refuse to answer, even when asked by family or friends. Your future security may depend on it. The ancient Stoic philosopher Epictetus advised, "Make it your business to draw the line between what is your affair and what is not your affair." This wisdom of boundary setting has been practiced across cultures for centuries, but is being forgotten in our era of digital vulnerability. In the next 10 minutes, I'll identify 5 seemingly innocent questions that often serve as gateways to vulnerability for seniors. I'll provide practical responses and real-world examples from diverse backgrounds, along with evidence-based insights on why these boundaries matter. Pay particular attention to question number 4. It revealed to me a subtle form of manipulation I had never noticed despite decades of life experience, and it might do the same for you. Before we begin, let me clarify. This isn't about becoming secretive or isolated. Connection remains vital for our well-being as we age. Rather, this is about recognizing that certain types of information, in the wrong hands, can compromise the independence and security you've worked a lifetime to build. If you found the video helpful, please subscribe to my channel and share this video to help others discover these insights. Let's explore these 5 questions and the thoughtful strategies for maintaining your privacy while preserving meaningful relationships. Begin with perhaps the most common intrusion seniors face today, those seemingly innocent questions about your finances. What's your exact income and savings? Isn't just nosy, it's potentially dangerous. Whether posed by a family member, neighbor, financial advisor, or adult children, this question crosses a fundamental boundary. Detailed financial information is among your most sensitive personal data, and once shared, cannot be unshared. I learned this lesson through a painful experience. During a family gathering, my adult son casually asked about my retirement accounts, how much I had saved, my monthly pension amount, and the value of my investments. I wanted to reassure my son that I was financially secure, provided detailed figures. Within months, I began receiving suggestions from my son about various investment opportunities that promised exceptional returns. When I expressed hesitation, my son responded with subtle guilt tactics that my investment helped secure my grandchildren's future. This pattern isn't isolated to American families. In Japan, Keiko-san, a 75-year-old widow I met at an international seniors conference, shared how disclosing her savings details to her nephew led to increasing pressure to fund his struggling business venture. The research supports these anecdotes. According to a 2023 Cornell University study on elder financial abuse, in over 60% of financial exploitation cases, the victim had previously disclosed specific financial information to the eventual exploiter. This pattern holds true across cultural boundaries from North America to Europe and Asia. When faced with financial questions, Develop comfortable responses that acknowledge the question without providing specific figures. I've been fortunate to plan well for retirement. Or, my financial advisor has helped me create a sustainable plan. If pressed for specifics, gently but firmly establish your boundary. I prefer to keep the details private, but I appreciate your concern. While protecting your financial details is crucial, identify one trustworthy person, perhaps a trusted adult child or professional advisor bound by confidentiality, who knows your complete financial picture in case of emergency. While financial information represents your economic security, there's another category of personal details that reveals something equally valuable: your health status. When someone asks, "What medications are you taking?" they're requesting a window into your most personal health conditions, information that deserves careful protection. This question, whether from well-meaning friends, curious acquaintances, or even family members, requires thoughtful navigation. While medical information sometimes needs to be shared with specific people for safety reasons, detailed medication lists should generally remain private outside your immediate healthcare circle. My neighbor Elizabeth, a vibrant 70-year-old widow from Portland, experienced the downside of medication oversharing during her church's weekly senior luncheon. When the conversation turned to health matters, Elizabeth mentioned she had recently started taking a medication for mild anxiety following her husband's passing. Within a week, 3 different people had approached her with better alternatives, ranging from unused prescription medications to dubious supplements sold through multi-level marketing schemes. More troublingly, she noticed people began asking if she was up to certain activities, as if her medication somehow diminished her capabilities. In Madrid, Carlo shared a similar story of how disclosing his heart medication regimen at his community center led to unwanted advice and subtle exclusion from physically demanding activities he was perfectly capable of enjoying. The medical community has documented this phenomenon. Research published in The Gerontologist identifies diagnosis discrimination, the tendency for others to reinterpret a senior's entire identity through the lens of their medical conditions, often leading to unnecessary limitations on their independence. For managing medication questions, prepare a simple response like, "My health is being well managed with my doctor's help," or "I prefer to keep my medical details between me and my healthcare team, but thank you for your concern." While maintaining privacy is important, ensure that emergency contacts and caregivers have access to your complete medication list. Consider carrying a sealed emergency medical card that first responders can access if needed. Have you ever experienced someone treating you differently after learning about a medication you take or a health condition you have? How did it affect your willingness to share health information afterward? Share your experience in the comments below. Your story might help others recognize this pattern. Just as medication information provides a map of your health vulnerabilities, questions about your estate planning probe the future of everything you've worked for throughout your life. Behind the seemingly concerned question, "Have you updated your will recently?" often lies a complex web of expectations and potential manipulation. This question, particularly when asked by potential beneficiaries, represents one of the most sensitive intrusions into your private affairs. Estate planning, including wills, trusts, and end-of-life directives, belongs to a category of personal business that merits exceptional discretion. My colleague Robert, a retired professor of 69 from Vancouver, shared his experience after becoming a widower. During the following months, he noticed his adult daughter increasingly raising the topic of his estate planning. She asked him about updating his will since her mother died. When he admitted he was working with a lawyer to update it, the questions became more specific, such as whether he would keep the lake house in the family and how he would divide the assets among his children and grandchildren. This phenomenon, spans cultures. In Sydney, Australia, Mei Lin, a 77-year-old retired accountant, described similar pressures from her son regarding her apartment in a desirable neighborhood after her husband passed away. For handling inquiries gracefully, consider responses that acknowledge the legitimate concern without inviting further discussion. Yes, my legal affairs are in order and regularly reviewed with my attorney, or I appreciate your concern, but my estate planning is a private matter I've addressed appropriately. However, instead of focusing on secrecy, consider having open, general conversations about your values and wishes with loved ones, without disclosing specific details. This approach balances transparency about intentions with privacy about exact arrangements. The line of questioning often follows a pattern. First, your assets, then your health, then your estate plans, and inevitably, your living situation becomes the next target. Among the most dangerous questions masquerading as casual conversation is, are you living alone these days? This seemingly innocent inquiry can be the first step toward compromising your security in ways you might never anticipate. This is also what I want you to focus on the most. At 65, Stefan experienced a revealing interaction that changed his perspective on this question forever. After his wife passed away, he began receiving increased attention from an acquaintance in his community who repeatedly inquired about his living situation. She asked if he was living alone after his wife Sarah passed away. At first, he answered honestly, explaining that he was living alone but was managing well. Her subsequent questions became more specific, such as does anyone check on him regularly, and what time does he usually go to bed? It wasn't until a mutual friend pulled him aside to mention that this woman had been asking others about his financial situation that he recognized these questions were actually about spying, not caring. In Mumbai, India, Dr. Patel, a 79-year-old retired physician, shared a similar story of how disclosing his solo living arrangement led to a targeted scam attempt involving home security services that was actually an elaborate ruse to gain access to his residence. This question, especially when asked by anyone other than your closest circle, deserves thoughtful navigation. While seemingly innocuous, your living arrangement is fundamentally private information that, when shared widely, can create genuine security vulnerabilities. A study published in the Journal of Elder Abuse and Neglect found that knowledge of a senior's solo living arrangement, combined with information about their routine, was the most common precursor to targeted financial scams and, in some cases, home invasions specifically targeting older adults. For protecting yourself from living arrangement inquiries, consider who legitimately needs this information. Generally, this includes immediate family, emergency contacts, and perhaps close neighbors who might notice if something seems amiss. For everyone else, general reassurances about your well-being are sufficient. What creative responses have you used when someone outside your trusted circle asked about your living situation? Have you found ways to maintain privacy while still being sociable? While protecting information about living alone, consider building a community safety network of trusted neighbors and friends who regularly check in with each other. This creates security without advertising vulnerability. My friend Margaret, a widow from Boston, encountered the downside of schedule sharing during her regular participation in a senior center art class. When a new participant joined the group, he was particularly interested in getting to know everyone, asking friendly questions about their backgrounds and routines. Within weeks, Margaret experienced a frightening coincidence. Twice, she found the same unfamiliar vehicle parked near her home around the time she typically returned from her art class. After mentioning this to the center's director, She was shocked to learn that this new participant had similarly questioned several other senior women living alone. Once someone knows you live alone, the next piece of the vulnerability puzzle they often seek is perhaps the most dangerous of all: your predictable patterns of movement. The final privacy boundary worth protecting fiercely conceals your daily patterns and movements. When someone shows unusual interest in your routine with questions like, "What's your daily schedule like?" your privacy alarm bells should ring immediately. Detailed information about your regular comings and goings, whether asked directly about your schedule or through seemingly casual questions about your routines, represents a significant privacy and security concern, particularly for seniors. The National Institute of Justice found that criminals targeting seniors often gather routine information through seemingly casual social interaction before attempting scams or break-ins. To protect your schedule privacy, be mindful about who needs to know what. Instead of saying you're always free on Tuesday mornings because that's when you do your shopping, simply say, "Would next Tuesday at 10 work for you?" It accomplishes the same goal without mapping out your predictable movements. Consider occasionally varying your routine, taking different routes to regular destinations, or changing the timing of regular activities. This practice not only enhances security, but can also add stimulating variety to your daily life. Have you ever noticed someone showing unusual interest in your daily routine? What subtle warning signs made you feel uncomfortable? Your observations might help others recognize early warning signals of potential targeting. Share your experience in the comment. These 5 questions represent traditional vulnerability points. But in today's digital world, the frontiers of privacy extend well beyond face-to-face conversations into the online realm, where many seniors are increasingly active. In today's interconnected world, privacy threats extend beyond face-to-face interactions into the digital realm. My friend David, a former teacher from Melbourne, Australia, was shocked to discover that his frequent social media posts about his morning walks, regular coffee shop visits, and weekly shopping routines had created a detailed map of his predictable behaviors visible to anyone who cared to look. To protect your digital privacy, review privacy settings on all social media accounts and consider limiting who can see your posts. Avoid posting about travel plans until after you've returned. Never share photos of financial documents, identification cards, or medical information. Be wary of seemingly innocent social media games that ask for personal information. Remember that digital oversharing can create the same vulnerabilities as in-person oversharing, but with potentially wider exposure. The goal isn't to avoid technology, but to use it safely by understanding privacy settings and sharing judiciously. Now that we've explored these 5 sensitive questions about finances, medications, wills, living arrangements, and daily schedules, let's discuss practical ways to decline answering without creating unnecessary conflict or appearing rude. The appreciate and redirect technique. This acknowledges the question without answering it. I appreciate your interest in my well-being, but I prefer to keep my financial details private. How have you been managing in this economy? The general reassurance approach. Instead of specific details, offer general comfort like, "Everything is working well for my current situation." The humor deflection method. Sometimes light humor can diffuse potential tension. "Oh, if I told you about my finances, I'd have to swear you to secrecy, and that's too much responsibility to put on a friend." Finally, the boundary education approach. With close relations who repeatedly cross lines, a direct conversation may be necessary. "I've noticed you ask frequently about my will. I want you to know I have everything in order, but the details are something I keep private. I hope you can respect that." While maintaining privacy boundaries, actively work to identify truly trustworthy individuals in your life. You can share selectively is not contradictory to maintaining privacy. It's complementary. Research from the Stanford Center on Longevity suggests that seniors with 3 to 5 trusted confidants experience better overall well-being while maintaining appropriate privacy with others. Consider these indicators of trustworthy individuals. They respect your boundaries without taking offense. They share appropriate information about themselves, demonstrating mutual trust. Their actions consistently align with their words over time. They don't press for information when you decline to share. As we bring our exploration to a close, I'm reminded of the beautiful concept from Eastern philosophy of the autumn season of life, the idea that our later years have their own distinct beauty, value, and rules. Remember that privacy isn't secrecy. Privacy means controlling who has access to what information about you, under what circumstances, and for what purposes. It's a fundamental aspect of maintaining your dignity and autonomy as you age. In our senior years, this might be paraphrased as, you do not have to explain. You do not have to justify your choices or share your private affairs to prove your worth. You only have to honor your wisdom and protect your peace. If you found value in today's exploration, please share it with others who might benefit. Leave a comment about your own experiences. What unexpected benefits have you discovered from protecting your private information? Or questions you'd like addressed in future episodes? Subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell so you don't miss our upcoming video. Thank you for spending time with me, and I'll see you in the next video.